Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. Cantu is on the other side. Happy hump day on this beautiful Wednesday night, May 21, 10:07 p.m. Central Time in the H. Astros did fall in Florida at Tampa Bay on episode 260, as we're going to title this, against the Tampa Bay Rays. I know really majority of these games were close. Game one, they won 4-3. Tampa Bay snuck that game in game two, won 3-2. And then it was close at the end of game three. The Astros were making a comeback. It was 5-4 in the eighth. Tampa Bay would obviously take over, put some more runs on the board, and they would lose 8-4 and drop the series against the Tampa Bay Rays, which a lot of Astros had some family in attendance. I know Cohen Gordon had his. Cam Smith not too far away from the area. So, yeah. How's it going, Angel? Before we get started,
Yeah, it's going good. Just trying to get through the week. It's Wednesday, very busy, but yeah, I mean, it's always good, to be here, be ready to talk Astros baseball. What about with you?
everything's looking good. Work, of course, as well as you. You're finishing work as we speak this coming week.
Yeah,
No more
fun
kids.
times, fun time, fun time.
Let summer break begin for not the student right here, but the teacher that
Yeah,
is teaching.
absolutely. Well deserved. Well deserved summer break.
Of course, but we're going to recap that Tampa Bay series, preview the Seattle Mariners, another divisional team coming into Houston at Dyken Park. I believe the Astros have a 10-game homestand this coming week. And next week, Ronel Blanco, that's a big one coming out of Tampa Bay from some of the reporters out there. And a little bit of update on Yordan Alvarez. And if we have time, maybe a little sneak in, a little bit of around the horn. Cantu, before we get started, let everybody know where they could see us, find us, follow us, all that good stuff.
Absolutely, you can find us on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Full Steam Ahead. Instagram is FSA at Full Steam Ahead. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. Especially take a close eye on that YouTube page of ours. A lot of great videos there, shorts, just to give you the latest Astros updates. Take a look at that.
Yes, and we just uploaded our Tony Perez Chica video talking to the Astros third base coach, base running coordinator, infield coach. We have that interview on our YouTube channel. It talks a lot about the defense, drills, performance, development, all that good stuff when it comes to helping out these players develop in the infield. And so far, the Astros did have 3 errors this series, but of course, not everybody's going to be perfect. They're still one of the best and outs above average. The infield has looked really good too. Besides Mauricio Dubon and Altuve playing the outfield, their numbers in the infield look pretty solid. So yeah, check out that video. Make sure you go on there, give it a like, give it a review, whatever you'd like to do. But it is on our YouTube page, like Angel had mentioned. But your Houston Astros are 25-24 as their record. They are still second in the American League West. Real quick, we'll break down that standings. The Mariners are 28-20. The Astros 25-24. Rangers are at 500 with 25-25. The Angels 22-25, which helped them sweep the Dodgers, helped them in the standings. And the Athletics are 22-27. So this, like I said, this division's still up for grabs. It's really too early in the season to call a winner for damn sure. But it's going to come down to the wire, and it continues to show that this division's still tough. It's not the worst division out there. They still got teams out here that are very competitive, and it's gonna happen. I'm predicting it right now. I think it's gonna happen the same thing like these past 2 seasons that the Astros have to fight down to the wire to see who's gonna take over that American League West.
Yeah, the
It'll probably be like September.
the American League West is the only division where there's not a team that has a double-digit lead in the standings. So what that means, like for example, the Orioles are in last place, uh, give me a second, 13 games back, and the rest of the division has a team that is trading by double digits, except the AL West.
Yeah, and right now teams are not even hot. The only team maybe you could say is the Angels. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, but Houston 5-5. Mariners and the Rangers are 6-4 in their last 10. The Athletics are way out of this. They are 2-8 in their last 10 games, which I believe both the Athletics and the Angels are playing right now tonight in Oakland. But let's recap that Tampa Bay series. We'll start off with game one, and Colin Gordon really did a fabulous job being back in his home state and grew up a Tampa Bay Rays fan in the Tampa Bay area with a great second star. We had talked about this in our last episode that the jitters were going to be out the way since he already made his first major league start. And sure enough, he looked really solid through this start. 5 1/3, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts, 83 pitches were thrown, 59 strikes, 8 swing and misses. I mean, a lot of breaking movement on his sweeper. His sweeper, like that was the number one pitch of the night for him. Looked really good, looked really comfortable in putting it in each location that I believe Caratini or one of them guys were behind the plate in that game and calling it. And this was the breakdown of his pitches. I mean, 34 sweepers, 34 seam fastballs, 8 sinkers, 7 curve, 4 changeups. So it was almost like a Framber kind of mix. You're going to see more heavy dosage of the sweeper and 4 seamer like Framber does with the sinker and curve. And sure enough, honestly, that sweeper was really the put away pitch for Gordon in this outing. And really, the only damage I would say was that home run from Danny Jansen. However, that home run wasn't like a huge, like no doubter home run. It was 345 feet. Hit it to the opposite field and right field, which I don't know if you saw this whole series, Angel. If you hit it to right field, my God, it looked like it was going to be a home run if you put it in the air for a good while. It looked like that wind was going to carry it to the stands. And sure enough, 345 feet, like I said, for Jensen's solo shot, it only would have been 2 stadiums that ball would have been gone at. Can you give me the 2 stadiums besides George Steinbrenner Field in right field? I'm pretty sure there's a hint right there of where that other stadium is at.
It could be the other stadium in the Yankees organization, which is Yankee Stadium, or if not, Fenway Park. I know they have that short right field.
You're sure right. I mean, it is Yankee Stadium. I mean, if you're playing at George Steinbrenner Field at the Yankee Spring Training Complex, best believe you're going to get a home run over there and right. And sure enough, that's what happened. But like I said, he did a really good job. The bullpen held it down. Brian King, Brian Abreu, and Josh Hader were able to close it out. Jose Altuve, I mean, it was getting a little scary at the end for the Astros, allowing Mr. Simpson on the basis because when he's on the basis, I mean he is a ruthless stolen base guy, and sure enough, was able to get to second, got to third, was able to get on the bags with a catcher's interference from Victor Caratini, but Jose Altuve made a good play at second base, bringing the infield in. I know they were trying to do a squeeze on with I believe it was 1 out in the ninth, and sure enough, Altuve made a good diving grab for it. And of course, Isaac Paredes was able to catch the ball in foul territory. But
Yep. But
go ahead.
I, I do want to stick with Colin Gordon now that we're, uh, you know, before we move on from the topic, the Astros going into the Seattle series have a TBA for Sunday's game. Like, I think after this start, Cody Gordon could be a legit option to have another turn in the rotation. I know you got an option, AJ Blueball as well. You've seen him, but Colton Gordon I think pitched well enough to earn a third start in this rotation, especially with the injury that we'll be talking about soon.
Yeah, that you made a good point right there. And obviously the Astros had to make room to happen, so they make the transaction optioning Colton Gordon to AAA. But Joe Espada had talked to the media about that, and this is a quote from Perb Matt Kawahara in his article. It says, "Quote: He's pitched well enough to stay here. I told him, listen, it's just a transaction move. We need to create a spot on the active roster, but stay ready. You're going to come back. You deserve to come back." And I believe so. After this start, even his first start wasn't really bad. And the second start right here showed that he's capable of being able. He could have honestly gone. He could have got 2 more outs with 83 pitches. He could have gone a good 6 innings. That would have been a quality start. He's pitched really well, like I said, in these last 2 outings. And you made a good point. He's gonna get another start, being his third. And with this injury that we do not have any information of with Ronel Blanco, there's a possibility that he's going to be on this rotation for maybe a good while.
Yeah, especially if he continues to pitch well. I think having another lefty in this rotation is very beneficial. 'Cause, like for guys like you know big lefties in the AL West could be like Corey Seager or uh help me with another one who's a big bet they actually gonna face a lot. Lawrence Butler's a lefty too. So
Mhm.
just guys like that that can kind of have that lefty lefty matchup.
Yeah, you can. I mean, the Astros don't have a lefty starter this season.
It's
So,
Framber Valdez.
oh well, yeah, Framber Valdez. Sorry about that. Besides Framber, though, that's what I meant. So the offense winning this game. I mean, there's a lot of 2-out RBIs. I mean, Houston has done a really fabulous job doing that throughout this whole season. RBI double from Cam Smith, solo home run from Victor Caratini, RBI single from Chas McCormick. That was all with 2 outs, getting them 3 runs. And of course, Jake Meyers, he's been hitting the ball really good so far this season. Honestly, he's playing at an all-star level. Of course, can he continue this on all the way to the Midsummer Classic? We do not know, but as of right now, he's been hitting the ball really well. We'll have some stats on overall thoughts on him in this series. So let's move on to game two because it was like the Astros were going to run away with this series with another lefty on the mound for Houston. I believe Houston, I would say the Astros fan base has never heard of this name before. And me, I've never heard of this guy. Angel, I don't
That
know if
was
you've ever heard of Mr. Brandon Walter, but he put
no,
his name out there.
yeah. When we talked about the pitching preview of who it might be, he was not an option that we had mentioned.
Not even close. AJ Blueball, Ryan Gusto, um, and there could have been another pitcher we had mentioned. I think it would have been Colin Gordon, but Gordon was starting in one of those games. But Brandon Walter did a fabulous job coming in, knowing that Houston's rotation is limited, don't have a lot of guys to bring up, especially with Ryan Gusto um, pitching a good amount of innings, and more than likely he would not have pitched with 2 days of rest. And sure enough, he answered the call and did really good. 5 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 80 pitches were thrown, 54 were strikes. But the offense for Tampa Bay against Walter, I mean, the exit velocity was really damn low. It was about 87.7 it averaged off the bat. And then, not to mention, too, he just did a really good job not putting guys on, not allowing a lot of hard contact. And sure enough, I mean, a runner didn't move past second base. They didn't even get to third base off of him. And the reason why is because he had only given up 2 singles and 1 double. And one of the singles was a cue shot to second base where Altuve was kind of shifted by the second base bag. And you really can't say nothing about that. And that's what you needed. And I'm pretty sure Joe Espada and this pitching staff needed somebody to come in here to save some arms, especially some guys with that we're not going to know in the outcome of this coming series against Seattle. And Walter did a really amazing job to put this team in a good situation to win this ball game.
Yeah, sorry. You couldn't have had asked for a much better start from Walter, like you said. 5 innings pitched. Honestly, when you're calling up a guy from the minors like that who has no experience in the major leagues, you're asking for like maybe 3, 4 innings of work and just give him a chance to win. But the fact that he pitched 5 scoreless innings, that's just a bonus point that the Astros, I'm sure they were jubilant in their seats, getting 5 and giving and handing it the rest of the bullpen. I think with a 2-0 lead that the Astros held for a while with the way the elite bullpen was, you would expect that was enough, but unfortunately that wasn't it. I j- but again, at the end of the day, Walter pitched great, and since the Astros threw Framber Valdez, Colton Gordon, and Brandon Walter for 3 consecutive games. It was the first time that the Astros started 3 straight lefties since May 23rd, May 25th, and that was against Seattle. So it's been a lot. I'm sorry, it's May 23rd to May 25th, 2014. So it's been a long time since the Astros have had 3 lefties in the rotation.
I mean, I had to guess Dallas Keuchel was one of those guys in that.
Yes.
Scott Kazmir, how about him?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought if I would have had him, I would have tried to guess the other one. But
It was that is Keiko, Brett Oberholzer, and Rudy Owens.
who was the other guy?
Rudy Owens.
No, I would have not gone that.
I would have had
Oderholzer is
that in there.
a familiar name from
Yeah.
them years. Um, that's an interesting stat. Would not know that. But I mean, he like I said, he just did a really good job being able to position this team for a win. And we had talked about too, Zach Little. That ERA's up there, but that doesn't necessarily mean he can't pitch well against Houston. He only
Yeah.
gave up 2 runs against the Astros offense, and that was pretty much it for the offense for Houston. I mean, Jake Meyers with the RBI double, Isaac Paredes, my God. Momentum carried from that Sunday season finale in Arlington all the way in this series, and he looked really damn good. You can even say the same case for Jake Meyers. Both of them will have them stats here in the overall thoughts section, but I mean, both of them really gave up the runs for Houston. And besides that, I mean, the Astros offense, of course, being plagued with them runners in scoring position, bases loaded, second and third, all that type of stuff. 1 for 7 with guys in runners in scoring position, and 9 men left on base for Houston's offense. And as a team, it just didn't get better. 13 strikeouts would be the number for the Astros. So Houston was able to do good. Sean Duman came out and piggybacked off of Walter, and he only threw 2 scoreless innings. And if you're Houston, you're in the driver's seat because this bullpen has done a fabulous job throughout this season. Stephen
Yeah.
O'Kerr's done a good job. Ben Souza has done a good job. And we talked about Abreu, King, and Hader. And Stephen O'Kerr just didn't have it in him in this game. Only collected 1 out, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, and then Caleb Bohr would come and try to help him out. But an inning and a third, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and sure enough, it was good enough for the Rays to get a walk off on a sacrifice fly to left. Of course, Chas McCormick doesn't have the best and strongest arm in this league. Kind of gave it a bang bang play, but sure enough, the guy from third would score, and Tampa Bay would walk it off on the Astros.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. Like I said earlier, the way the Astros bullpen is, you would think 2 runs is enough, but this is why no lead is safe, and this is why as an offense you gotta continue to score runs because you never know. Like your bullpen relievers have had a great season, but it's baseball. Like they're not gonna be perfect the entire time. They're facing major league hitters on the other side that can, rip one at any moment, at any time, and that's exactly what happened here. Shout out to the you know, tip your cap to the race. They did a really great job, of adjusting to what Stephen O'Curr and Caleb were throwing. They weren't really falling for the like, gimmicks of making them chase out of the zone, and they were taking advantage of the mistakes that they did.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just kind of a thing that you just gotta tip your cat. I'm just wondering too if I had seen them walk. I thought they have walked. No, it was only Ort that had gave up walk. I thought for some reason I thought O'Kurt had given up a walk, but uh it was Caleb Board. So yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, two at the same time, this bullpen can be perfect all the damn time.
Yeah,
I mean, they've done a really good job for this, so far into the season, but you're gonna have some days that the bullpen might just fall off the wagon. And sure enough, game two was a part of that. And speaking of a guy that has not fallen off the wagon and really into this game, he did was game three with Hunter Brown. And if you're a Houston Astros fan, you're thinking in your head, man, this has to be a win. I'm very confident with 95 to 99% that Hunter Brown's gonna go out there with a quality start of 6 innings of maybe 2 hit, 0 earned runs, 1 earned run baseball, and the Astros are gonna have a happy flight going back to Dyken Park. That was not the case in this game against the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, this was probably Brown's, not even probably, it was Brown's first bad start of the season. And we had
yeah,
talked about you could continue being perfect and perfect and perfect, but there's going to be a game that you're going to, come down to earth and you're not going to have a good game. And sure enough, it was this one against the Rays. 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 91 pitches were thrown. 52 of them were strikes, 6 swing and misses. That is the lowest, I would say, for any start this season for Hunter Brown. Season high in runs, gave up 3 home runs, not to mention. And some of these home runs were not typical major league home runs. I'm gonna give you an example. Brandon Lowe's home run in this game had a .10 expected batting average off the bat. I know that was, on Twitter, and sure enough, you go and look at it on Baseball Savant, and you look at the metrics and all them numbers, and sure enough, .010 expected batting average on that ball. When you even look at the replay, Brandon Lowe hits the ball and just puts his head down, like knowing like he just got under it, and it's probably going to be a fly out. And sure enough, for some reason, when you hit to that right to right center gap, that ball is going to fly and just continue to tail into the stands. And that's what it surely did for Brandon Lowe. It was a 360-foot homer, just like Danny Jansen's home run, Angel. Only would have been a home run at George S. Steinbrenner Field and Yankee Stadium. So I know Hunter Brown was very frustrated seeing that ball fly out of the ballpark. But I mean, some of his stuff just wasn't as sharp as he would like. And for sure, Houston would have loved to see him pick up this win because he will not be pitching in this next series coming up against the Seattle Mariners, which it would have been huge to have him in one of them rubber matchups against the Mariners. You're on mute.
Just like the same thing we said about the relievers, same thing with Hunter Brown. Like Hunter Brown has been perfect. It was only a moment of time where that perfect streak ends, and unfortunately, it came at this time when it was a rubber match to see who was going to take the series, and it didn't go the Astros' way. But the thing is for Astros fans, what you're thinking about is that Hunter Brown got this bad start out the way. Well, get it out the way early, and then continue seeing the greatness of Hunter Brown. That's soon to come. Well, that's gonna continue to come. You're on mute too.
We're doing a bad job right now on this mute bullshit. I'm not gonna lie to you. But Hunter Brown's next start, if it's not going to be against the Mariners, it's going to be the Oakland Athletics. If you're Houston, you would have loved to see him pitch against the Mariners, knowing that those games are very important. This 4-game series against Seattle is going to be important for Houston because we just read you the standings earlier on the show, and the Astros are just 3.5 games back. If somehow the Astros could sweep Seattle at home, which it will be very tough, then obviously you're taking over the AL West with a half game up. But he will not. He'll be going against the Athletics. And like you mentioned, Angel, it's just one bad start. And, you rather have it get it out the way now than have it down the road when you necessarily need that start in an important game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's gonna happen. But again, you got to tip cap to Tampa Bay. They had a plan against Hunter Brown. They executed, and they were just attacking him, being aggressive, and they did steal some home runs too. But Hunter Brown also did steal some outs. Like there was a fly ball by Josh Flo that wasn't out in Tampa, but it would have been a home run at Minute Maid Park. So, or Daikin Park, sorry. So, yeah, it just sometimes the dimensions of baseball get the best of the pitcher.
That's baseball for you. But the offense, when you're looking at this game, Houston was off to a hot start, and you honestly thought that this offense was going to kick off and do great against Tosh Bradley. And sure enough, it just kind of did not. Just almost like in game two, it kind of transpired onto game three. Paredes kicks it off with that 2-run homer as soon as Jeremy Pena gets on with the walk, and the Astros would go scoreless till the 8th inning. Of course, we've talked about this team only averaging about 3 to 4 runs a game, and it sure enough, it was the same thing in this game on game three, the series finale. And the Astros offense would rejuvenate in the 8th, and it would give Houston a good chance of coming back with a Mauricio Dubon solo shots at left. 2 batters later, Paredes would send another solo shot, with a multi-homer game. And if you're Houston, you're like, okay, we're knocking on the door. We've done really good in close situational games where we come back, we're passing the baton, all that good stuff is coming into play. Well, Forrest Whitley's first game back just did not go as well as planned. I want to get your opinion on this after I give this stat line. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving up a hit, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, and 1 strikeout. In that situation, for me, I'll start off with me real quick. My opinion, if I'm Joe Spot, I wouldn't have given him that opportunity to go out there. Yes, you could have. Let me start over. First off, you didn't think, if you're Joe Spot, you didn't think the Astros were going to score two more runs in the eighth. So understand that part. However, I will say this: Willie's first game back in a one-run situational game. I understand if it's maybe four, five, six, all that type of stuff, and maybe Espada was laying out that plan. But one-run game, my opinion, I would have gone to Willie in that situation.
To me, he's probably the precious arm that they have in the bullpen too. So I mean, that could be the reason why they do have a tough series going against Seattle, and you want the best arms available for you then there. I'm not going to say Joe Espada was looking at this game as a sure loss already, but you know, as a freshest arm, you would think Whitley would be able to, get 3 outs, limit damage, or not score any damage at all. But unfortunately, it didn't get the job done. But this appearance can go a long way for Force Whitley because they're gonna need him again with Seattle, right? But
Mhm.
I might as well get this first game back. If there's any nerves for being back or just anxiety trying to stay healthy and stuff like that, it's out the way. They're gonna need him again with Seattle, so it's to me not a big deal. I mean, it's unfortunate they lost the game, but it happens.
Yeah, like I agree. It's not a huge deal, but like I said, I think in the eighth inning when Dubon hit that home run, and then Paredes, and like you mentioned, I don't think Spada was going to throw this game as a loss, but he's just giving the freshest arm out there with a what was at the time a 4-2 lead
Hmm.
or a 4-1 lead. One of those.
It was, I think, 4-2.
No, 5-4, 5-4. Sorry.
No, 5-4.
Yeah, it would have been 5-4. My math's everywhere for some reason, but yeah, probably would love to see somebody else. Like I said, if it was a one-run game situation before them home runs were hit, you probably would have saw Brian Abreu or Josh Hader in that type of situation. But like you mentioned, Angel too, maybe it was because there was a fresh arm in the bullpen. Forrest Willie, I can't recall when was the last time Willie had pitched in Sugarland with the Triple A Space Cowboys, but at the end of the day, the Astros offense did not really help out either. 12 strikeouts in this game. Cam Smith collecting, I believe, maybe could be his first golden sombrero in an Astros uniform this season. So not one of the games that the Astros wanted to see let that slip away in the five. You had a chance to win that game, but at the end of the day, series finale is already over. Lost the series, scratch that, move on. Got a 10th game homestand at Dyken Park.
Yeah, like I said on the last podcast, the Rays are known for being able to find pitching prospects and they develop pitchers that can just go any day, throw 95 and rack up a lot of high strikeouts. And that's exactly what happened with, like you were saying, 12 strikeouts in game three, and they had 13 strikeouts in game two, right? As a team. So, the Rays did a really good job, just like the Astros do in developing pitching. And, it was just a battle of, who was better at this point given time, and that was the Rays.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, Tampa Bay will be coming to Houston for their next series against the Astros. All right, let's move on to overall thoughts. Do we want to start with the bad or do we want to get with the good real quick?
Let's start with the good.
All right, the good. Isaac Paredes is on fire for Houston right now. 5 for 12 in this series, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs. Has hit 4 home runs in his last 4 games. He's now lifting the ball away from Dyken Park. If I'm not mistaken, he has hit about 5 home runs away from Duncan Park to the Crawford boxes on this road trip in Arlington as well as in Tampa Bay. So he looked really good. And you got to give some love to Jake Meyers as well. 5 for 11, a double, a home run, 2 RBIs, leading the team in batting average with a 306 and second in OPS just behind Paredes with an 800. And I'm going to be honest with you, Angel, if you would have told me this in the beginning of the season that Jake Meyers would be having a 300 plus batting average and is second on the team with an OPS on May 21, Wednesday night, I would have slapped you across the face right now on this screen.
Well, I'm not talking about Dick Myers, but I would talk about Paredes. Just for those overall thoughts. Um, when Yordan Alvarez went down, we did talk about someone would have to step up in this lineup, and Paredes has taken that honor, I guess you can say. You're right that Myers does lead the Astros in batting average, but Paredes leads the Astros in home runs with 10, RBIs with 28, runs with 25. He also leads the Astros in on base percentage, slugging, OPS. He also leads the Astros in walks. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like, so he leads the Astros in most of the offensive categories, and he's kind of been keeping the Astros afloat too with the absence of Yordan Alvarez. Now, if he can continue to hit like this and stay hot once Yordan Alvarez comes back, I'm sure that lineup can be even more deadlier.
Yeah, I agree. And not to mention, too, in this series, the Astros scored 10 runs. Six of them came from both Paredes and Meyers. So you would love to see Jose Altuve get hot for this team. Jerry Pena has done a really good job for Houston. You would have loved to see maybe an RBI here and there for him, which you can't give any credit to him because he's done a really good job. Christian Walker, you would have loved to see him try to step into the right direction. He just moved from the cleanup spot to the 5 spot now again. Also Altuve moving to that 3rd spot in
Yeah,
this
I feel
series
bad
too
about
as
that.
well. So you would love to see these guys clicking in all cylinders. Yainer Diaz as well. We could throw another name out there. Victor Caratini has done a really good job when his name is called upon. He's done a good
Mhm.
job. Before this series, Cam Smith was hitting over 300 in his last 9 games. So you just got to find a way to balance all these guys out. And you've seen it with Houston this season. There's games that their spark is going, this offense is flowing really well, passing it on to the next person. And then there's some of these games that one of these guys go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts like Cam, or they just have a 0 for 4 day with a lot of groundouts and the fly ball. So it's just one of the things that if this team could get clicking, and I know Dana Brown has mentioned this probably numerous times on podcasts, on radio shows, and all that. Once these bats start clicking, this team is going to look different. So if they could get that moving, then like I said, I agree with Dana. If they can, these bats can start flowing and start making good contact and getting some guys in runners of scoring position at home, then this team is going to be just fine.
Yeah, and it's crazy that most of our talks about the Astros is how, and this was last year too, how not everything happens at once for the Astros. Like if the starting pitching is great, the offense struggles when the starting pitching is not so great. The offense is on the road, right? So it's been like that for more than a year now. But I think compared to last year's lineup and roster, this is a much better team uh offensively right
I was
now
about
with
to
the
say, I
yeah.
thought when he said that, I was like, oh shit.
Well, if the injuries don't happen, the rotation is good too, right? But
Mhm.
obviously that's not the case. But this is a much better team to score runs, so it's just a matter of time and when. And the fact that they, haven't clicked and they're still in second place in the AL West kind of puts them in a good spot to kind of win the division later on. It's just a matter of time. Usually the June months, which is coming up, is the Astros months. That's when they kind of turn the switch on a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see if that happens again. I think that's been happening the past 2 3 years where start kind of slow, but once the summer months come, the Astros get hot.
Yeah, I know for sure last year they were struggling mightily with their offense, and you can hear it on every Houston radio show. And you can, for example, Sports Talk 790 in the mornings, they would talk to Dana, and he was like, "It's coming, it's coming. Just got to be patient and all this." And you heard it a bunch of times, and that's how it's going to be right now because Christian Walker's not hitting really well. Yainer Diaz is still struggling a little. Jose Altuve is struggling. Yordan Alvarez is on the IL, but before that he was struggling. So these mighty bats that are really well known in this batting order have not yet seen their capability how they have in the past seasons. Once they can start getting back on track, like I said, maybe the big man just needed some rest, um, just to heal that hand, which we'll talk about the updates here in a second, coming later on the show. Then maybe it could be a difference. And I know for sure when Yordan Alvarez comes back from the IL, and we talked about this, the heart and soul of this lineup and this team is Jose Altuve, but it also runs through the big man. It also runs through Yordan Alvarez. When he starts clicking, when he starts going, this whole lineup is going to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, June's coming up. I think Astros fans should get excited for that.
Yeah, most definitely made a good point right there. However, let's move a little bit to the bad. The Astros struck out 28 times this series. You already Heard it from me. They struck out 13 times on Tuesday, 12 uh, and today's ball game, and 3 strikeouts on Monday. So that is not a good stat you want to hear if you're an Astros fan. Bullpen wasn't sharp, like we already had mentioned. Brayan King did a really good job. Ben Souza did a good job. Sean Dubin did a good job. Brian Abreu and Josh Hader did a good job. However, the I would say non go to guys in heavy situations when the Astros are trying to pick up a save and a win. Stephen O'Kurt, who's done a really good job this season, has done well, but got bit with 2 earned runs, or with an earned run, and Willie with 3 earned runs. From the bullpen, they got 6 earned runs from the Rays offense this series. And lastly, let's end it on a good note. Credit to the rookies in this series, specifically Colton Gordon and Brandon Walter. They did a fabulous job on the start for this team. Gordon didn't give up a walk. Walter only gave up 1 walk. Combined their stats, 10 innings and only giving up 3 earned runs. Really good job for both of them. Their off speeds look really good. Like we had already talked about with Walter, just did a fabulous job coming in, having pitched in the big leagues and being able to be on the taxi squad to get ready for this start. And not to mention, too, the Rays offense struggled against left-handed pitching this season. And it showed against Walter and it showed against Gordon. And it was crazy because Hunter Brown's pitching at a Cy Young level and they teared him up. But when it was against Colton Gordon and Brandon Walter, they couldn't do nothing on a dime. So credit to the rookies how they pitched this series. More to come for Colton Gordon, I say. We'll
Yeah,
probably won't see him pitch maybe at the series finale or in the series against Seattle Mariners.
yeah, absolutely. I think the rookies deserve their flowers, like you said. It's they did a fabulous job of giving the Astros a chance to win. Because I remember last year there was a rookie pitcher, kind of similar to Walter's situation, coming in on I think Blair Hensley, and then couldn't only got 1 out against the Rangers. So it could have easily been a disaster, but the fact that he pitched well, just shows promise for him. But moving on to the pitching preview against Seattle. It's a 4 game set. So again, this is part of the 17 game stretch with no days off. It starts Thursday with a 7:10 start time. George Kirby versus Lance McCullers. These are 2 pitchers who are coming back from injury. George Kirby is making his season debut. Um, he hasn't pitched in the major leagues this year because of right shoulder inflammation. So I guess I can start with him, since I'm already talking about him. Which again, like I said, George Kirby is making his season debut. However, his numbers a year ago, he went 14-11 with a 3.53 ERA. The Astros are very familiar with George Kirby, and I'm sure they have this on the calendars because for the most part, George Kirby has had the Astros number. Against the Astros all time, he is in 7 starts. He has a 3-0 record with a 1.55 ERA. Get this. In all those 7 starts combined, he has only allowed 7 hits to the Astros. So
Yeah, this
literally,
is kryptonite right here.
yeah, literally averaging a hit a game, right? He'll be squaring off against Lance McCullers, who's 0-1 with a 7.88 ERA. Versus Texas, though, he did kind of settle down from that KC matchup. He did pitch 4 innings, allowing 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. Now he did allow 2 runs that are both unearned because he had a throwing error, but still limited damage there. He threw 83 pitches, 25 sliders, 21 changeups, 19 sinkers, 8 fastballs, 7 knuckle curveballs, and 3 cutters. He's relying a little bit more on his off-speed pitches with the slider and changeup, and I was curious to see what breaking balls Lance McCullers pitches because he is known for that knuckle curveball, but he's kind of shying away a little bit away from that one, relying more on a sinker, changeup, and slider mix.
Yeah, I mean, this is a matchup that you want for Lance McCullers. You want to get your revenge on this second start at Dyken Park. And of course, the first one did not go as planned. Of course, we can go back and think of the bad stuff, but scratch that away. I think he's coming with a clear mindset coming into his second game of the season at Dyken. And I think he's going to do a really good job, put up a fabulous performance, especially going against a team that he's pitched against various times, especially in important situations. Like you can go back to game 3 of that 18 inning game, almost 18 inning game of the American League wild card in 2022. So looking for a different Lance McCullers in this start. For George Kirby, on the other hand, I'm more looking at a pitch count for him, knowing that he's just coming
Yeah.
back, making his season debut. That could honestly help Houston's offense, knowing that they only had 7 hits and 7 starts against Kirby, which I mean he's really dominant on the mound regardless. But that will help Houston. If you can get that pitch count high to the 5th inning, to the 6th inning, I think it's a win for Houston. They just have to make sure they're getting that, like I said, that pitch count high, and sure enough, too, scoring some runs to knock him out of the game.
Yeah, Kirby threw 64 pitches in his final rehab start, so I would be really surprised if he goes past 80 unless he's like dominant again and getting quick outs and quick innings. But I would say maybe an 80, 75
Shoot,
pitch count there.
I'll go 70, 75. It could go 80. It
Yeah.
just it depends on the
Yeah.
situation that's going in that game.
I would say 80 max. I don't think he passes that. So I'm leaning more to 75. But again, again, that's what I'm saying. Like depending on the flow of the game, if he's getting quick outs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they extend low to 80. But 75 is where I'm at.
And honestly, this
Uh
is an advantage for Houston too. If they could get to him and get him out of the game and get to that bullpen early, especially in a 4-game series against Seattle, that's going to
yeah.
help them throughout this whole series.
Yeah, they need to get to the bullpen with a lead because Munoz has been pretty good
Yeah.
closing it out for sure. Uh Friday's game though, it's a 6:05 start time. I'm sorry, I believe it's a 7:05 start time. Emerson Hancock versus Ryan Gusto. So Gusto's back in the rotation. I think that's a big part that that Ronel Blanco would not get the start there. Gusto's 3-2 with a 4.65 ERA. His last outing was actually in a relief appearance against the Texas Rangers. He did throw an inning with 2 walks and a strikeout. He did throw 30 pitches that outing. Uh, prior to his last outing, he did have a start. Again, it wasn't a great start either, so he's working back on that. However, all of Ryan Gusto's starts have been at Dyken Park, and he has kind of struggled in that. Uh, it'll be a 6 once he starts this one, but at Dyken Park, he's 2-2 with a 5.68 ERA. He's allowed 16 runs again, and those all been starts. Away from Dyken Park, he's only shown up in a relief role, and he's 1-0 with a 0.00 ERA. So I think getting comfortable at home for Ryan Gusto is gonna be uh really beneficial just because yeah, just to get that ERA down, get the actual chance to win. The thing is, it's tricky pitching at Dyken Park because of that short porch there, and the dimensions are very unique in a way, so it can kind of it can kind of help hitters a little bit. But he's going to be going against Emerson Hancock, who's been struggling in his own right too. 1-2 with a 6.21 ERA. Versus San Diego, though, he did pitch 4 2/3 of an inning, allowing 6 hits, one run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. He does come in with a 6 pitch mix. He throws a sinker, a change of fastball, slider, sweeper, and cutter. However, he throws a sinker 40% of the time, and then changeup and fastball follows that. And changeup is his best pitch with a 2.3 opponent batting average and a 28.8 whiff rate. However, if you're the Astros, you want to take advantage of that sinker that has an opponent batting average of 365. So he's really good with his breaking pitches. However, tries to get ahead with that sinker and sometimes doesn't work out for him.
Yeah, these are two rookies too going in this matchup. Emerson
Mhm.
Hancock's done a really good job, but he struggled against good teams. Like you had mentioned that stat against San Diego, against New York, he struggled as well. So Houston's a good team. They have a really good offense. However, it just shows up too for Houston how they're going to play and how they're going to plan out. You saw that series against San Diego, not San Diego, Tampa Bay. They weren't playing too good of an offensive baseball team. You can maybe even say the same thing for Arlington. They really didn't score a lot of runs until they had that 6 run inning, and then they came back from behind in that series finale against the Rangers. So they got to take advantage. They got to find a way to help out Gusto in this outing. And Gusto, including himself, he has to find a way to get comfortable at Dyken Park and being able to pitch against guys, like the Rosarenas, the Julio Rodriguez's. And he has to figure it out because, like I said, this is going to be an important series for the Astros. And if whatever happens in game 1, game 2 can help them as well.
Yeah, especially how many, like, depending how many pitches Lance McCullers throws, I think they're gonna want Ryan Gusa to at least go five. I mean, ideally you want Lance McCullers to go at least five, Ryan Gusa against five, but if one of them falters a little bit, then it could, throw off the bullpen even more. And you're
Exactly.
already seeing that kind of struggle with occur, earlier on. So, but I think the pitching matchup of the series is going to be the Saturday's matchup. So that's the one you don't want to miss. It's a 3:10 start time. So, uh, I guess Saturday lunchtime at Dyken Park. Brian Rue versus Framber Valdez. Valdez is 3-4 with a 3.57 ERA versus Texas. He did pitch really great. 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts to get him the quality starts. And since joining the Astros rotation in 2020, Valdez ranked second in MLB in wins with 62, first in ground ball percentage with 62.3%, and fifth in ERA. Also, Valdez leads the majors with 58 outings of 7 or more innings, directly ahead of right-handed pitcher Zach Wheeler, who has 56 of those. So, and versus Seattle, he's been pretty good. He's 6-3 with a 3.33 ERA. So, he has some outings where he's dominant, some outings where he's kind of sketchy, but not too much. Now we're going against Brian Wu, who's again been excellent. He's 5-1 with a 2.65 ERA versus San Diego, who has Tatis, Manny Machado, Luis Arraez, superstars like that. He pitched 7 innings, only allowing 5 hits, 1 run, 0 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Comes in with a 5 pitch arsenal of a fastball, sinker, slider, sweeper, and changeup. He throws the fastball 43.2% of the time, sinker 24.3% of the time, and then a slider 11.9% of the time. The sweeper and changeup it depends on pitching matchup, either to try to get hitters out or if it's lefty or right. However, his fastball, just like Hunter Brown, has been pretty great. His opponent batting average on the fastball is 1.155. Now get this on the slider. The opponent batting average on that is 0.56. He's only allowed 1 hit on his slider so far.
Yeah, he's been, my God, lights out throughout this whole season. Honestly, pitching like an all-star. He'll probably get some Cy Young votes too if he continues to pitch like this. Very underrated pitcher in this staff, in this
It's only
rotation.
his second year, right?
It's only his second year, and you're going behind guys like Bryce Miller. You're going behind guys like the Luis Castillos, the George Kirby's, the Logan Gilberts. So, and you're in the, yeah, that's their number five. Of course, right now, I think Logan Gilbert right now is on the IL. I could be wrong,
So is
but
Bryce Miller, I think.
yeah, and Bryce Miller, George Kirby's just coming off the IL, and then Brian Woo's been pitching like in number one, number two guy. And he probably could be one of those guys in any other major league rotations. Maybe the Colorado Rockies could use him, but yeah, he's just done a fabulous job. What I'm looking for Houston in this matchup though against Woo, Woo likes to get and pound the strike zone. First pitches is gonna be a strike 75% of the time. 75% of the time he's going to get a strike on that first pitch, whoever he throws it to. So if you're Houston, you're looking to be aggressive, not too aggressive, not too aggressive. I would say not, Jerry Pena comes up, swings the first pitch, gets out. Isar Perez follows and swings at the first pitch. Next thing you know, 2 pitches into the game, you have 2 outs. So not that too very aggressive, but aggressive enough to try to get Wu out of his comfort zone. For real quick, for Valdez, done a really good job in his last 3 starts, 3 quality starts. Like I mentioned, Angel, the ERA looks really good against the Mariners. You gotta look at the same thing going into this game and try to make it a 4 quality start, especially the way and like you mentioned too, with these next 2 guys before him, with McCullers and Gusto, depending on how much they can go into a game, Valdez could be the guy to go 7 innings and 8 innings. We've already seen that this season so far for him, and if he could do that for Houston, that's going to really help out this bullpen a lot in this series.
Absolutely. Because it doesn't get any easier on Sunday when they'll be facing off Luis Castillo versus TBA. So TBA is out there again. But again,
Mm.
for the Astros, it could be Colin Gordon, AJ Blue Ball this time. After that Colton Gordon start, I'm leaning towards him a little bit. But again, I was wrong last time too. The Astros surprised us with Walter there. So I mean, I'm leaning Gordon. What do you think?
Yeah, and more than likely it'll be Cone Gordon. He did pitch on Monday's matchup, so was that from
He'll be
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
he'll be ready.
Yeah, it's a 5 days of rest, so yeah, he should be the guy to be called on for that Sunday's matchup. If not, then maybe you look at a guy like AJ Blue Ball, but more than likely, probably.
Yeah. Well, Luis Castillo has been good in his own right too. He's 4-3 with 3.20 ERA versus the White Sox. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned 1, 0 walks, 5 strikeouts. That's what you expect from Luis Castillo against a team like that. His last he has pitched against Houston earlier this season. His last outing against Houston was 5 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. He does come with a 4 pitch arsenal with a fastball, sinker, slider, changeup. Usually like the usual four. But Luis Castillo's going to be pitching a road at Dyken Park, and he's proven in his career that he is not afraid to be in the opponent's ballpark and throw lights out. In 100 and get this, in 105 career road starts, he has thrown 5+ innings pitched in 88 of those starts, 6+ innings pitched in 57 of those starts, and 7+ in 16 of those starts. Now let's look back in a recent number. So in his last 15 road starts, Castillo has thrown at least 5+ innings pitched in 13 starts and has 2 or less walks in 9 of those contests as well. So he's done pretty good on the road.
So you're telling me he's a road warrior?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's seen Luis Castillo multiple times in a Mariners uniform. He's done a really good job for Seattle. It's going to be just like all these pitching matchups. I mean, Seattle's rotation is one of the best in Major League Baseball. We've always preached that because it's true. They are one of the best, and if not the best in MLB. I know for sure in the American League. But of course, they're battling through some injuries right now, just like the Astros are. And just like Houston, they're going to be trying to get that game one and game two from Houston, try to at least win that series. But George Kirby barely coming back. Emerson Hancock, like I said, them first two games are up for grabs for Houston to try to gain some momentum on them. But when you come back on the weekend with Saturday and Sunday with Brian Wu and Luis Castillo, it's going to be kind of tough for the Astros offense to kind of get something going against those guys.
Absolutely. I think, like you're right. I agree with you there. I think the best chance for the Astros to take two, like a 2-0 lead in this series against is Thursday and Friday because it doesn't get easier Saturday and Sunday. So you hit it right then on the coffin. But I
Before
guess
we do, real quick, before we do
go
move
ahead.
on, not to mention their records, Houston's 15-9 at home at Dyken Park. The Mariners are also 15-9 away from T-Mobile Park. So something
Something
has
has
to
to
give
get.
between those
Yeah.
teams. Houston could do a good job and try to protect their house, or Seattle can ruin the party and have a great fiesta this coming weekend and try to take 3 or 4 or try to get a 4 game sweep.
Yeah, that'd be ideal for the Astros. Again, like you said earlier, 3.5 games back. It's a 4 game set. If they sweep the Mariners, they'll be in first place there. So easier said than that. Again, like it'll be a good 4 games here in Dyken Park. So I'm sure stay tuned for that. But moving on to Astros injuries updates. Yordan Alvarez, after I guess much consideration, he finally speaks to the media about his injury because he's denied requests of that. And I mean, he's injured, so I guess for him it doesn't make sense for him to talk. But Astros fans and reporters really want to know what's going on with Yordan Alvarez. So this is per Brian Murphy, who covered the Astros in Tampa Bay in place of Brian Tiger, who didn't travel to Tampa Bay. This is what he said. Yordan Alvarez said he's still feeling a little pain in his right hand, but said it is getting a lot better. Right now, he's swinging off a tee and he's batting in the batting cages, and he insinuated that he's not currently swinging at 100%. Per his article, this is what Alvarez had to say about it. It's been very frustrating. I didn't think it was going to take this long, but obviously it's been longer than what I had anticipated. So the fact that he's still feeling pain and is not swinging at 100%, how much time do you think, based on those words there, you're an Alvarez needs?
If I'm the Astros organization, whether it's medical with the doctors and the team trainers and to go into the GM spot of Dana Brown and even Joe Spada, I'm giving him to the end of this week of May because something if if surgery can happen and it Of course, surgery. It depends on what surgery you get. More than likely, it's going to be type of hand surgery. It's probably look at a 4 to 6 weeks. It can even get to 8 weeks if we wanted to say, and then plus the rehab. You would want Alvarez for that last bit of the season coming down the stretch because, like we had mentioned, going down that stretch, it's always tight in this American League West. Whether it's the Mariners, the Rangers, you can even throw the Angels in there, and you can throw the Athletics in. This whole division is going to be up for grabs when it comes to the end of the season. You would want him to be a part of that because that is a huge bet in this lineup. But as of right now, Houston has been playing pretty decent with Alvarez not in the lineup. It's almost like last season with Kyle Tucker not playing. Houston did a really good job not having him in the lineup, and sure enough, they were able to hold ground until the end of the season. Tucker came back. Sure enough, they won the division. This is almost the same situation for the Astros with Alvarez, and that's for me, in my opinion. If it doesn't really get to 100% and it's still like it's hurting, you're still feeling some pain. It like he kind of contradicted himself, saying it's still in the article he said, and I'm reading it right now. He's still
Mhm.
feeling a little pain in his right hand, but said it is getting a lot better. Right now, he's swinging a lot in this cage, and he insinuated that he's not currently swinging at 100%. So, one, is it the pain still there, or two, you're swinging and you're feeling a lot better. I mean, you're getting a lot better. It's kind of like you don't know what to believe at this moment as of right now. But like I said, my opinion, if it doesn't get better, maybe surgery comes into the question. Just look at the doctors one more time and see what their opinion is like and kind of see what goes from there.
Yeah, but the question is surgery even an option, right?
That's
So like,
another thing. Yeah. And that's why
doesn't
I
need
was kind of
surgery.
like leaning towards if surgery was an option, I would say just go ahead and get because it's almost like the same thing with Eric Getty. You remember they said Eric Getty broke his thumb and they said that surgery wasn't the option, that it was going to be in the cast, and they were going to see if it heals good enough. If not, plan B was going to be the surgery. So it's almost the same situation with Alvarez though.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's swinging, I guess, sticking to the positive is a good thing, but you want him near 100%. And I get what the Astros are trying to do is, have him at a 100% just so it doesn't happen again. You have Yordan Alvarez for a little bit, but it could be a little sense of urge. I would say the fact that the Astros are still winning games and Isaac is kind of taking off, putting the team on his back. The sense of urgency is not there yet. He just want to take his time. But it comes to a time where I would say a prime example is the game two of the Tampa Bay series. I think with Yordan Alvarez in that lineup, there's a chance they can score more runs and they don't blow that lead again, right? Just giving the
Yeah,
relievers a little bit more room to work with. But the fact that you're missing that big back, it seems like the Astros are leaving a lot of runners on, runners scoring position just because they're, and it makes a difference. Like imagine how much carefully the pitchers are going to pitch with Jordan Alvarez in the lineup. Like they're not want him to give anything, right? Because they know his power, they know his stuff. It's just a lot of respect for him, and that kind of opens up. It kind of gets the hitter in front of him pitches to see, right? So giving them a better chance to bring that runner in, or a better chance to fight off some pitches and work a walk or whatever it may be. But having him in the lineup is crucial for this if the Astros don't want to World Series, if they want to go to the playoffs. So to me, it's like once he's ready, you're putting him in there. But I can see it, right? Because if he's in any surgery, why drag it on and then
why
have
drag
him
it?
out?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I don't know. This is a tricky one. I'm
It,
not
it,
gonna say.
it's almost like that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's almost like the Kyle Tucker
I was
situation.
about to
Kyle
say that.
Tucker
So
was like a 3 month drag.
yeah,
And then they finally said it towards the end of his IL stint that he had surgery and there was something bigger than it not be.
I don't. You see, I was about to say that. I was saying that this is still not giving me Cal Tucker vibes. I can see that just because he was out, but I don't think he'll need surgery. I think it's just more like maybe a muscle thing, and just once he gets better. But if you're the Ash, I think you're hoping by like I said, the end of this week, he's back in the lineup.
Yeah, because not to mention he hasn't played since May 3rd. That's when they put him on retroactive him to the IL. And that's what I'm saying. You can give him till that end of the week of May because, like I said, June, of course, you mentioned you made a great point. Houston does a really good job when it is summertime, when it's summer baseball, when it's in June, July, August, when even it gets to the dog days, they're still good. But if that's the case, and that's what I'm saying, that's what I thought. If surgery is option, then might as well get that going. Then you can have him for that last part of the season because, of course, you know that he's going to have to rehab. He's going to have to do some assignments with, going to Triple A and Double A and all that type of stuff to get ready to get back into the big league. So if the option is there, in my opinion, go ahead and get the surgery, get the rehab going. Then you could be ready for the second half of the season where Houston's going to need you more than anything because, like you mentioned, with him in this lineup, it's just very deadly. Everybody carries it on. But without him in this lineup, I mean, they've done a really good job. Like you mentioned, Paredes has taken over the time being, but Walker still hasn't gotten going. Diaz, you've seen a little bit of glimpse of him getting going, but he has yet to show that power pop that the Astros desperately need when it comes to getting extra base hits. So and with Jose Altuve too, you can even throw him in there as well. If he can get going, you could put possibly back Paredes in the third spot, or Altuve could stay in the three spot and continue trying to give these Astros some good offense with runners on. So in the day, it just really hurts Houston's lineup not having him there. Hopefully, if you're a Houston Astros fan, you're hoping it's nothing real serious, and with just time and rest, maybe he's ready by the first week of June or the second week of June. Because honestly, in my opinion, I thought he was going to be ready at least for the Seattle series at home, but it
Hmm.
just doesn't look like it's going to be there.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but we'll see. Now, another injury update. This became more of a surprise, and I think Astros fans don't really want to hear this, but Ronel Blanco now. This is per Matt Karankawa. Ronel Blanco reported elbow soreness 2 days ago and flew back to Houston to be evaluated. Joe Espada said he has seen doctors today. Whenever you hear that word elbow soreness, I think Astros, the hair on their back, Astros fans, the hair on their back kind of stands up a little bit. This, in recent, I guess, in recent years, in recent times, elbow soreness usually doesn't lead to good news. Usually it leads to Tommy John surgery and being out for a year now. We don't know yet, right? I'm just saying that, just what,
What was
history
reported?
has shown. Yeah. Uh, ho- for Ronald Blanco, I guess he hopes it's nothing serious, just maybe some rest, maybe miss a start or two, 15-day IL or anything like that, just to get him back on top. But worst case scenario, which has a high chance of happening, is he might need Tommy John and it's another pitcher out. And if that is the case, the Astros are going to be relying on two aces, you can say, from Valdez, Hunter Brown. And after that, it's going to be Lance McCullers if you can find it, and rookies. Now, if Ronel Blanco is out, Hayden Wesneski's out, I mean, the hope is you get Spencer Arrighetti back, but then at this point, I think the Astros will have to make a move, right? Just, I don't think you can win a World Series with, you know, two stars and a half, right? So it's just they might need to make something. I'm not saying they're gonna do it right away. I'm saying like I think they'll ride the wave for a little bit, and if it sees it's not working, then something can be done. But if you're an Astros fan, you're just hoping for good news for Ronaldo Blanco.
Yeah, that honestly, it was out of the blue today when I had gotten the message of it, and when you go back to that start against Texas, my God, he was good. Quality
Mhm.
start again. Only giving up 3 earned runs, went 6 innings, pounded the zone, 14 swing and misses. You thought like Ronel Blanco was just a typical day at the office. But when you go back and look at the metrics of the spin rate of his pitches, because we know that he's been throwing a little bit more of that slider this season. Well, when you look back at all his pitches, everything had dropped. -7 on the slider. And this is the spin rate on his pitches. -7 on the slider, -5 on the fastball, -6 on the curveball, and a -95 on the changeup. On the changeup, which he threw El Cambio so many times last year. And this is a huge number. That just jumps out to me. But all you're just seeing everything go down in that start for him. And like you mentioned, if worst case for Blanco, and I think Astro fans don't want to hear this because they just recently heard this with Hey Wisniewski. They said Wisniewski missed a start, and that's what you had mentioned too with Blanco. He's potentially can miss a start, maybe get some rest. Same thing happened to Wisniewski, and next thing you know, Tommy John was in order for him. Let's say that happens. I'm not saying that it's the report or anything like that because we just got the report today saying that. But let's say he has Tommy John, and like you mentioned, Angel, you got to rely on Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez, and we had talked about it already. Both those guys aren't going to give you 6 innings of scoreless baseball or 1 or 2 run baseball every time they start on the mound. It'd be cool and it'd be great for Houston, but majority of the time, that's not always going to work out. And then Lance McCullers just coming back from injury, trying to still find the groove of things and all that. And like you mentioned, you got to rely on rookie pitchers. And we've seen Houston always at the trade deadline, making moves. And who's it for? Starting pitchers. And sure enough, it's going to happen again this trade deadline. I've seen a lot of posts on Instagram and Twitter about Justin Verlander coming back. Well, guess what, too? I'm just having fun with it. He is not going to come back in Astros uniform. It'd be funny, but it's not. He's on the IL as well for the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, you're going to get Christian Javier back if everything goes right for him, maybe the second half of the season. We've yet to hear anything about JP France. Same goes for Luis Garcia. And then Spencer Arrieta, we have no reports. So this rotation, which was a strength from the beginning of the season, has now met the middle of only having 3 starters when they had 8 starters to begin spring training. Okay. That hurts them a lot. And more than likely, if it's going to be bad news about Blanco needing to get Tommy John, then phones are going to be ringing for Dana Brown, giving each GM a call to see who's available out there for a starter.
Absolutely. And, I think he will have no choice but to use his hand and get somebody, that's major league ready, that's going to be proactive in this rotations and be, giving them numbers. But again, you're just waiting patiently to see what the doctor said. But I think you never want to hear the word elbow soreness, especially for a pitcher.
No, and then especially with the numbers showing there too, with a lot of his pitches, with his spin rate is down, it's not really the best of news either to help that on top of it. But if you're an Astros fan, you're just hoping for the best. You're just hoping that it's just soreness and he just needs a couple of starts to get rest. And that's the case too. I mean, you only got 3 starters and you're relying on guys like Cone Gordon, Ryan Gusto, and probably you're going to get a start here from AJ Blueball getting called back from AAA.
Or Walter too.
Or Brandon Walter. He showed that he could be able to pitch in this league. So, yeah, if you're an Astros fan, you're going to have to hang tight. This offense is going to have to find a way to help out this rotation, how the rotation kind of carried, I would say, for this team in the first part of this season. This offense is going to have to try to find a way to get the groove of things and try to help this pitching rotation coming down into the summertime when everything's going to get hot and ready. But that is the end of our show of episode 260. If you haven't followed us, like Angel had mentioned at the beginning of the show, FSA Full Steam Ahead on Instagram, Full Steam Ahead on Twitter, TikTok, as well as our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We appreciate it. Everybody tuning in tonight. And if you haven't gone see that video, like we had mentioned, we already had interviewed Tony Perez-Chica regarding about the Astros infield defense and all that. Make sure you go check out that video and subscribe to this podcast, man, because we're throwing a bunch of interviews. We're talking to players, coaches, all that good stuff. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you will not miss any of these interviews and even these podcast episodes. Other than that, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you like, rate, subscribe, and review. We appreciate all the feedback. We appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Overall thoughts, Angel, lastly, on the final thoughts, not overall, but final thoughts before we send everybody off.
No, I think at, at this point offensively, the Astros are in the right place. Just I think they'll get that offense going, but pitching wise, you're scratching your head a little bit more of like what's gonna be going on with this pitching uh rotation. Will Christian Javier come back? Will JP France come back? Will Spencer Getty come back? But it's just a moment of wait and see what happens for that.
Yeah, I agree. Offense is going to have to step up huge for this Houston team, especially with a lot of guys dropping like flies in this rotation as of right now with these injuries. And like I had mentioned, if you're Houston, you're hoping for the best and nothing too serious for Ronel Blanco's injury. Because if that's the case, you might have to rely a little bit more on your farm. And if they're not going to rely on the farm, then more than likely you're going to see Houston very active, depending on where their standings in the trade deadline. But other than that, we'll talk to y'all later. We'll talk to y'all soon. Everybody have a great weekend because it's almost here. The weekend's almost here. If you're going to the Astros game against the Seattle Mariners, it should be a fun one, a 4-game series going against a divisional rival like them on this 10 home game stretch at Daikin Park. Until then, we'll talk to y'all later. Have a blessed and safe weekend, and we'll talk to y'all soon.